Well then, back down to earth with a huge, huge bump. Stay tuned. It's bound to be a good one.
Down in the depths of my soul, feeling the loss of control and in a spirit so colorful. Easy feeling, then let's go to a place where you belong. Give you strength to carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Rise, rise, keep on rising, rise, rise, rise.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Tottenham 5, Newcastle 1 match review. Like I said in the intro there, back down to earth with a bit of a bump, it's fair to say. But we'll start off on a huge positive. Just want to thank everybody so much as the channel hit 10,000 subscribers today. A massive, massive, massive achievement for all of us, everyone to do with the channel. Me, Alex, Danielle, the hosts, and then obviously the mods backstage, and then you guys out there, the subscribers, because we couldn't do this without you guys. So a massive, massive thank you so much. Unfortunately, Newcastle couldn't put a display in to match the good news, unfortunately. But you know what? It was just one of them things today that they just didn't play. And also, the big man upstairs, Dave, will be looking down, I'm sure, proud as punch today, knowing the channel got the 10K. That was one of our, when he came on board, it was one of our big projects we wanted to hit. It was a milestone for us, and it's just so sad that he's not here with me to sort of celebrate that, but he is in spirit, I'm sure, looking down, proud as punch. So well done to everybody, and a massive big thank you again. If you do enjoy tonight's show, as usual, hit the thumbs up button for us. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please do hit the subscription button. It's onwards and upwards now. And of course, you can donate to the channel if you wish by hitting the super chat button, which is the $sign at the bottom of the live comments, and that will take you through to a payment method on there. So thank you in advance for that. Right, we'll get into this. Few comments first, Alex. As you can imagine, there's quite a few. Unhappy. Good evening, team. Well, that was definitely a game of two halves. Realistically, we knew it was going to be hard to get points today. We need to dust off and get our heads back in the game for Friday. Let's look on the positives today. Kane didn't score, but we couldn't stop him from doing everything else. Peter, thank you very much for your £4.49 super chat, mate. He just come in there. Amazing Paul and Statman. Get the guitar out. P.S. I've had to watch the snooker to calm down. Well, if anything's going to calm you down, it's watching. Have you been practicing on the guitar, Alex?
Oh, I need the tabs. I need to look for the tabs for that.
All right. Okay. Only decent player was Bruno, says Wagner. Awful defense. Can't defend Maximan anymore, and Wood is terrible. Best player on the pitch was Bruno again. The defense was shocking. Hopefully we can bounce back and give Wolves a hammering. Kane says, I am fuming. On the plus side, Maxi did track back a few times. He did. Chipper says, I can take losing, but with no effort or fight pisses me off. Sorry, like Dubravka needs replacing, and we need leaders in defence. We missed Trippier for that big time. Just talking about the starting lineup, Alex, were you a bit surprised not to see Bruno in there?
I'm not surprised. I think people are being a bit harsh on jet lag. I don't know if you've ever experienced jet lag or anybody
Yeah,
in
I
the
have.
chat,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Brazil to the UK um, is a whack. So it depends. You know, the sports scientists and the coaching staff will have assessed him
Mhm.
and deemed maybe he wasn't sharp enough to start against a Champions League quality team.
Mhm.
And I'm not a sports scientist, so you know, if that's the decision they make, then I've got to accept that. He looked sharp when he came on, but
It
granted,
did. Yeah.
he only got given half an hour. So maybe if he'd have started, he'd have made mistakes. I don't know. It was a decision made from obviously the staff, and I've got to respect that because 9 out of 10 times they've been getting it right. So it
Yeah,
happens. We lose
it
football
does.
sometimes.
Yeah. Gary says, evening, Paul, Alex, and Danielle. Well, Danielle's unfortunately not here because she's got a very early start in the morning. Very deflated after that performance. I'll try not to single out individuals as the whole team didn't play well at all. Far too many bad passes. Tottenham turned up. Paul says, been overperforming for a while now. And against a clear, better opposition, it's showing. Let's take a reality check and have a reaction to this against Wolves. Anne says, congratulations all. Thank you very much, Anne. Ken says, hi, Paul. I said to everyone and posted it on the Toon review before we signed Wood how bad he is. Yes, I do remember that. I got slated for it. Unfortunately, this is one of those occasions I hate being able to say I told you so. Cesare says, even though, please remember to keep the comments respectful. No caps or spam. Most of all, enjoy the show and each other, indeed. Trolls is in the house. Probably not very happy either. There's a lot of Ancients of Moon, which is all team at fault today, but wonder if Stats still defends ASM. Congrats on the 10K. Best podcast out there. Thanks, mate. Listen, I mean, I thought Maxi did all right first half. I thought he was well in the game. He won us some good free kicks. You know, he was making some passes. He was definitely trying to cross the ball. Second half, he was anonymous. But listen, the whole team fell apart second half, which we'll come on to. Because the first half, Alex, I thought actually, you know, Tottenham definitely had the better of the first 20, 25 minutes. We then grew into the game, I thought, and we started to have a lot more of the ball. And then, of course, we score. I thought Hugo Lloris could have saved that, if I'm totally honest. When you see the replays, it was a poor bit of goalkeeping. However, it was a good free kick. It was clearly practiced, and it came off. But then I said during the commentary, let's just hang on now till half-time, go in 1-0 up, and see what we can do in this game. And unfortunately, typical Newcastle, we switch off for that brief second. 30 seconds later, it's in the back of the net at the other end.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's our midfield today were very, very sloppy. I mean, Joe Linton was unfortunate to get a yellow card, which obviously affected what he could do in the tackle. But it was just the midfield. I felt like I don't think Fraser. I thought Fraser had a poor game. He was, I mean, by far the worst winger if you were looking at wingers. Maxi had positive moments. He's improved defensively. He was a lot better, but those counter attacks. Well, if we want to talk about the first goal going and behind, you know, them equalising. I don't think anybody did anything wrong necessarily. In my opinion, I think Maxi was an issue for that first goal because Manquillo went and pressed the fullback and he needed somebody else to go and cross, and Maxi was stood on nobody in the box. So I'm happy with Maxi's performance today as a whole, but he could have helped prevent that cross from coming in. And it always seems to be Target that's got a a lot of recent goals where we've conceded headed goals. It's a mismatch because Target's trying to win the aerial duel.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming Target. It's not his fault. He's a fullback.
No, I noticed that he seems to have to get pulled in to win headers that he shouldn't really be in that position for.
Yeah, it does look like they did their homework. They figured out it out very, very well. Not only did they do their homework, we also had an off day in 5 or 6 positions, which
I mean, I don't think Tottenham really got up the top gear.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
The last 3 goals were just, well,
they didn't have to work for that result.
No, we just switched completely off. Shana says here, will Stato admit that Kraft is a better defender than Manquillo? Manquillo was terrible today for his fault for at least 2 goals. Cannot defend to save his life and offered nothing going forward. I was a bit surprised, actually, Alex, because I expected Kraft to keep his place. I think you did as well on the preview show.
Yeah,
I don't think we
he'd go with
expected,
Kraft.
because Kraft hasn't done anything wrong. And if anything, I think it was justified today that he should have been in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I never said that. Well, I did say that Manquillo is a better defender than Kraft because I think that's true. I think they've both had good games and bad games this season. I don't think you're qualified to say that either. Manquillo's won us a couple of free kicks. He's scored a goal. He's been okay defensively and against difficult teams. He's filled in at left back and done a good job. Kraft has had shocking games and he's had some good games of late. I don't think I should be ridiculed for saying one's better than the other. I think they're both at fault in games, and Manquillo did not have a great game today. Completely right. It's fair enough. I think he struggled a lot because his wide cover was Joe Willock, who I want to be nice to him because he's given some positive interviews. He's a good young lad. He showed he cares about the project, the city. He's a nice lad. But that was a shocking performance from Joe Willock today.
I thought he was okay first half. I thought he was okay. He did a couple of good things because, he that one when he dribbled in the box in the 6-yard area, he took on.
That was his best thing of the match.
I think it was Davis and Dyer. He completely made mugs of them, and it was only a fantastic Romero tackle that stopped him scoring there. And he, of course, did win the free kick for the goal. But second half, man, how many times he gave that ball away? And just lazy passes as well. Not good enough at all. Not good enough.
May I add that him being in a good position to draw the foul was because ASM made the right decision. He, instead of trying to take people on, he passed it to Willock, who was in a better position. And then we got the free kick for the goal, which Maxi did a lot today.
Max says, well done, everyone linked to the channel. Disappointment overriding feeling today. But let's all be realistic. We've only just touched the surface on where we're heading. Keep positive. That was our biggest loss for a while, says Matthew. Caitlin and Nick, hey guys, obviously shocking result today. Like dreading going to the Wolves match on Friday now. If we play like that, I will lose my streak of us not getting beat when I'm there. Listen, I think, let's take one game at a time. Just because we had an off day today does not mean we're going to play badly against Wolves. I think Eddie Howe's got a very tough week ahead of him. A lot of things need addressing, which I'm sure he'll put right. And by the way, did I spy Caitlin on Barry's channel the other day? Let me know. I think I did. Evening chaps, was at the match, just got home, game of 2 halves. It kind of was, but I mean, Tottenham will be pretty pleased with the way the whole match went. Can't defend Maximin anymore, and what is terrible. Best player on the pitch was Bruno again. Hopefully we can bounce back and give Wolves a hammering. Our defence was terrible. Dan Burn was, I think that's the worst he's played for us since he's been at the club. Again, another one that had a serious off day today. And for me, Alex, he was lucky to stay on the pitch.
See, I've got a hot take from this. I don't know. It's too close to the game. I need to go back and have a look at the goals. I need to rewatch the game. So you got to take this with a pinch of salt. But from what I saw in the game, a lot of it was coming from the midfield. I don't, from what I can recall, I don't think Burn was at fault for a lot of it. I think he was having to do a lot of legwork it's not supposed to be his responsibility. I feel like we were being cut open from the midfield. Because I mean, Shelvey was okay, but that was
I've heard people hammering him. I've heard people hammering him. I don't think he was.
First half, four missed long balls given at possession. He was poor in the first half.
But the problem is, Alex, he's got nobody to hit. There's nobody making runs for him.
Again,
and Chris Wood did that in the second half. Chris Wood did it once, very early on in the second half. Shelvey pinged it to him right on his chest. He took it down and he shot wide. Now, but when Shelvey gets the ball, he's immediately looking up and he's looking around him, looking for runners. He's looking for people making the runs. And then what annoyed me is in the second half, it was clear on camera. Willock put his hand up to make a run, started to make the run. Shelvey pinged the ball exactly where Willock wanted it, but Willock stopped running halfway through.
Yeah.
And
there was a lot of that.
People are having to go at Shelvey.
Fraser and Willock had a lot.
Yeah. He's got nobody to give the ball to. And that's frustrating me having to go at
Bruno
Jonjo
was
because it's
similar
not his
as well.
fault. Yeah.
The amount of times Bruno looked up, took another 2 steps, looked up, took another 2 steps. There was just nothing on ever. And he found Maxi a few good. I mean, that was the silver lining, in my opinion, is Maxi and Bruno looked like they were on the same page in the final 15, 20 minutes of the game. It just looked like they were the only 2 players on the pitch for us that were at Spurs' level, and the rest of our lads just weren't at that level. Like, and then obviously Maxi was a lone striker at the end, trying to cross to himself.
Yeah.
Bless him. He was
know.
trying.
I know.
He went right wing and he went, oh crap, I'm supposed to be the one in the box. But you're right, runners. I mean, I cannot stay. Yes, Maxi had issues today, but I really would like people to. I said this to Ryan today. There has to be a point where we move away from this grafting, work rate, hard work, and we need to start moving into the territory of quality. We're not going to win anything with hard work. It needs to be a balance. And right now, Ryan Fraser and a raw Joe Willock aren't good enough, aren't at that quality. I mean, let's be honest. Fraser finished 8th with Bournemouth, playing absolutely out of his skin in the best season of his life. Is he a top 10 player? Possibly, but the quality's not quite there. We got found out today that work rate isn't enough against people of that quality.
Well, it's all these people saying, "Oh, Chris Wood, he works hard." Big deal. He's supposed to work hard. He's a Premier League footballer. Is that not part of it? And then people will still come out and say, "Oh, well, it's not Chris Wood's fault. It's not his fault." Well, I'm sorry, but there was times in that first half. What we were looking for was what you've been talking about in the past, Alex, is clearing the ball and somebody just to hold it up to get us pushed up the field a little bit and bring players into the game. I can't remember Chris Wood winning one aerial duel today. Not one. I don't know whether he did or not, but I can't remember him winning any. And he just wasn't holding the ball up for anybody.
Well, there was one good situation where he held the ball up on the right wing. And then there was the one situation that got him the shot. And those were the 2 that I wrote on my notes. Beyond that, it was poor. And the problem is those 2 situations I'm talking about means he's got it in his locker somewhere. And it's just frustrating that we don't see more of it. So he won 7 out of 11 aerial duels, but a lot of those headers didn't go to anybody. There was a lot of Willock and Maxi beyond Wood, and Willock, for some reason, I think he was singing from a different hymn sheet today. He was trying a couple of 1-2s and a couple of tricks. He tried it with everybody today, and nobody knew what he was. It didn't click with any of them. I think he was still in an Arsenal shirt in his head. He was trying to play with a different team. I'm not sure what was going on.
What do you think Eddie Howe sees in Chris Wood that we all don't? Because
he's got
Dwight Gale there. He will not bring... Now, I've had me say on Dwight Gale, I know he's a championship player, etc., etc. But when we've got someone that's not doing anything, and it may as well be like we play with 10 men and no striker. Simple as that. Now, what Dwight Gale does do is he runs the channels, which we needed someone to do today to help take the pressure off us. And Dwight Gale would have done that. Chris Wood, there's no pace. He can't run. He's just like static constantly. Now, I'm not saying that Dwight Gale would have gone on and scored goals, but he would have been able to run the channels, and Shelvey, etc., will have been able to spot the runs, play through the balls, and we could push up the field a little bit better than what we have done. But for some reason, I mean, we've got kids ready to come in who I think will do a lot better job than Chris Wood. We've got Munoz there, who seems like a very, very good player, to be honest. Dylan Stevenson and the likes. These kids cannot do any worse than Chris Wood because he's just not involved in the game.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I'm still confused about. Excuse me. I agree with Eddie Howe on everything. Sorry, voice. It was that bad of a game.
All right.
I agree with him on pretty much everything tactically, but this is one thing that I don't get. I try to look beyond, and I try to look at the holding the ball up and what he brings to the team and the shape, and that people have to, people have to mark him because of his height. I get that, but I'm not seeing enough to justify the price or the praise. I understand we don't have anybody else. I get that. I don't think Gale would have done any better today. it wouldn't have fit the game plan. It doesn't work. So I agree. I understand there's not another option, but I don't quite get the praise. He's all right. He has tools, but he's a bottom 5 in the Prem striker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I think obviously we didn't cross that much today. I mean, Maxi tried 4 crosses. Fraser got 1 in. Again, we did have a few set pieces. I never see him anywhere near the set pieces. It's always Burn or somebody else getting on the end of them. I want to get behind him in a black and white shirt. I just don't know how. I don't know.
Well, listen, I mean, I said earlier in the week that, he scores for New Zealand. He should have his confidence up. He should be busting a gut. I did not see a player who's just come back from international duty on a high becoming a national goal scorer and, top goal scorer. And I just don't see anything that he brings to the team. Now, I'm not being harsh here. I'm giving my opinion. And loads of people have started to agree now, just saying, what the hell does he bring? Because he doesn't run the channels. He doesn't hold the ball up. He doesn't score goals.
Well, it's more of a request. I'd love if somebody knows more about football than I do, please explain to me what I'm missing about Chris Wood and Paul, because we don't get it.
I don't. I really don't. I don't. You know what? I would have rather had Joe Linton up front, and I'll tell you why. In that situation today, Big Joe would have held the ball up. He's good at doing that. He's good at holding the ball up and bringing players into play. And he would have done that a lot better than what Chris Wood did. Chris Wood didn't do anything. Shana says, anyway, remember, 3 home games, get 6 points, then relax and look forward to summer transfer window. Remember where we were before Christmas. This has been a great season if we stay up. Completely agree, Shana. Completely agree. However, we need to, that... If we're going to lose a game of football, then lose with a bit of dignity, lose with a bit of pride, lose with a bit of passion. There was none of that there second half. We just gave up second half. When they got their third, it was game over. The goals that they scored were horrific on our count. I mean, the first one, fair enough. The second one, I mean, Jesus Christ, Doherty scoring against us. I mean, wow. And then... the other goals, I mean, God, Emerson Royale even scored against us. I mean, I just don't know what we were doing defensively for the goals. And then the one where Bergwijn, he was on the pitch for 30 seconds, breaks through, clean through on goal. No defense. Son missed a sitter to make it to score earlier before they got the 5th. Where the hell was the defenders? I mean, it was pretty shambolic, Alex, to be honest.
I mean, I think it was the midfield that messed that up. I actually had a look because obviously I've always been critical of Lascelles in the offside trap. He got it right. The defense was in a good line for all of those situations. The problem was just that we were just leaving so much space. There was the midfield just wasn't connected to it. I felt really sorry for Bruno because there were a few occasions when Bruno was looking around at the shape, off the ball, on the ball. And you could see it just wasn't there. There wasn't passing options. Like he was looking at where Willock was and where people weren't and where Shelvey was and wasn't. I can't blame the fullbacks got caught a little bit. This is the midfield as an issue. This is what made Burn look quite bad today. And it made Matt Targett look bad. And they're not bad players. If Matt Targett moves up when we're in possession to the halfway line, you cannot lose the ball cheaply in midfield like Willock and Shelvey did several times, because Matt Targett is massively out of position, and then it's left to Dan Burn again to try and clean up, and it's hard. He's not the fastest player. He's a centre-back. And then all of the onus and the scrutiny goes on Matt Targett and Dan Burn, when in actuality, we can't be losing the ball that often in midfield. We've seen this before. I've mentioned this before about that hole between Targett and Burn that appears, and it's not been a problem. Today, we've seen how it's exploitable. If the midfield muck about with it and lose it too often, there are big holes there. And it's got to stop. The midfield have got to... That ball is baby. Don't lose baby. Keep it. You just can't lose it so often, especially with the lack of possession over the 90 minutes. We needed a bit more of it. And I feel
without a
like our
doubt.
defence was made to look worse by the midfield, just lack of concentration and ability today.
Yeah. Dan says, greetings from America as always, Paul. Stato is a true trips will be back Friday. No, he won't be
No,
playing Friday. There's not a chance of that. I've seen a few people saying that. No way will he be back on Friday.
there has been. I don't know if you saw the news just before the show. Apparently, it's bad news. Eddie Howe's come out and said that it's a little bit worse than first anticipated, and he hopes he will play before the end of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm misquoting that. Is that the Howe quote?
Well,
Which is
Wilson's
worrying.
had a setback as well, hasn't he? So I don't know.
It's gone from we might see him in a few weeks to
yeah.
I hope he plays before the end of the
Yeah.
season. That's a big
I
difference.
don't think there's any chance of seeing Wilson. And now Trippier, well, who knows? We just have to.
Trippier would have been perfect for today.
Oh, God,
Leadership,
yeah.
extra quality on the ball, organizational skills. That would have kept the score down and maybe given us a bit more control. We're missing quality. We really are.
Yeah. Dan says, playing after altitude has been scientifically proven to be tough. Trust me, US players at Mexico all the time. It's always an issue. People get hurt after altitude. Enough it wasn't worth the risk. Tom says, Dan, I don't know why you're fuming. Okay. Kane, sorry. I don't know why you're fuming. Okay, you didn't score, but you won 5-1. It's a team game. You should be delighted for your teammates who scored. Yeah, it's all about Harry Kane. I can't stand him sometimes. Paul says, congratulations on the 10K. We will bounce back. Got to keep our heads up. Hard fixture today. I'm more upset with the manner we folded second half. Lee says, fell to pieces in the second half. Absolutely woeful. Players seriously need to wake up. Might only be 9 points off Watford, but all we know how fast things can change in football. Dan says, who would be the 9 if Wood wasn't here? Just curious. Well, listen, we don't have one, but like I say, we've got kids to step up, and they're not kids, guys. I mean, Munoz isn't a kid. Dylan Stevenson's not a kid. These guys can come in and do a better job. They can run. They can run the channels better than Chris Wood can. They can win aerial duels better than Chris Wood can. I do not know what Chris Wood brings to this football team. And like Stato said before, I'm waiting for somebody in the comments to come in and say what he does for the team, because I can't see it. I cannot see it. It's like that we are playing with 10 men. But we just got overrun. Midfield today, Højbjerg, he annoys me sometimes when he goes down and rolls around, like when Bruno brushed him off, for instance, and he went around holding his jaw as if he'd been punched in the face. That kind of thing was pathetic. But Højbjerg, for me, is a very, very underrated midfielder. I think he's quality on the ball. He's quality to winning the ball back, and he's tenacious as well. He gets stuck in. And I just think they bossed us today. Joe Linton was in and out of the game for me. I don't think he was at his best again. But listen, if you're calling people for backing up the players and sticking up for them, when Maxi had that little run in with the Tottenham player, Bentancur, yeah. He was straight over there and just shoved him out the way. But we just got overrun, Alex. There was their midfield, and I do remember you saying in the preview about their midfield and how dominant they can be, and unfortunately that happened today.
Yeah, it's a very good Tottenham side tactically. Conte's managed to make up for the fact that their defenders are pretty woeful, although they were okay today, but we didn't really offer much going forward. Yeah, their midfield are very, very good. Bentancur was an absolute steal for them in January. And Højbjerg's always been a very, very talented CDM. Like Mourinho rated him very, very highly.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And if Mourinho rates a CDM highly, if we think about his CDMs, like prime Matic at Chelsea when they won the league, and he loves a good CDM. But it's the wing backs and the system that they played as well. Eddie will have been well aware of this, that playing the Tottenham system is quite effective against us in a 4-3-3. They've got a lot of triangles. They can exploit space if they win the wide areas in the middle, and they did that. And Eddie Howe will have been aware of that this was it was risky to use our standard formation and our standard plan. So, but the players will have known that. They will have been told, this is risky. We can't get sort of space from the wings. We can't constantly lose it in midfield. They will have been told this. So Eddie Howe took a gamble, and the players took on the responsibility to not make those mistakes, and they made those mistakes. Is it Howe giving them too much trust? Was it Howe doing the wrong formation? I don't know. It could be either. But yeah, we got dominated in midfield, and then we got targeted on that space that we were leaving open from wing backs.
Yeah.
So we had the problem was we had Son and their wide men and the wing backs overloading, and then we'd got people tracking back. I wasn't particularly impressed to see Joe Willock walking back on occasion, especially when they had it in our box and he was walking back.
He definitely had one of them games today, to be honest. But I mean, Doherty he played on the left hand side, and I don't really rate him on the right hand side. And he played on the left today, and it begged belief. It really did. What we were seeing today, it was some of it was terrible. Ryan says sick of the biased commentary in that game. Also, Tottenham were nothing special. We were just shit. Ryan, you should have been listening to the proper commentary on the Toon review.
Oh, we had yours and the other one on. It was crazy bias.
Yeah.
When Chris Wood missed that chance, they gave it 3 seconds, and then all they talked about was Harry Kane. They wouldn't say, "Oh, first good chance for Chris." They didn't want to entertain it as an idea. They just brushed it off.
Thanks very much, Paul. David says, why is the SM copying it? All our defence was awful. Burn was shocking second half. Listen, people seem to have these players to target after every defeat. Now, many people may come at me and say, well, you talk about Chris Wood after every... Listen, a lot of people are agreeing with me tonight that Chris Wood isn't good enough. Simple as that. He was terrible today. Maxi, I don't think was bad. And I don't think he should be copied for anything. We were poor defensively. We were poor as a team. But to go at Maxi again, it's just, well, it's the same old, unfortunately. Lee says Chris Wood seems to be playing to keep Burnley up, never mind Newcastle. That game was the least selfish I've seen out of ASM. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought, he did lay the ball up quite a few times. And what I did like was he was linking up well again with Matt Target some of the time and knocking it back to Target to get across.
Nice
and
overlaps.
Like that. Yeah, which is what we want to see.
He's growing, definitely. He's getting the messages, which is nice to see.
I think we would have gotten at least a point if we could have gotten to half-time without conceding. Trips ain't coming back until May, possibly next season. If we're safe, they're not going to risk him. End of story. It would be stupid to do that. Shana says Burn has been terrible since last minute against Chelsea, bad against Everton, and shocking today. But Manquillo was the worst.
We'll put Kieran Clark back in then, shall we?
Apparently, Bruno's just tweeted an apology.
He did nothing wrong. He doesn't need to apologise.
Nah, not at all. Burn was really bad today. Look, I mean, the problem is with our fan base, Alex, is you have one bad game. And that's it. You're terrible.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Wood's had about 9 bad games for us. And finally, people seem to be waking up to the fact that he is truly an awful player. However, Dan Burn has been immense since he signed for us. He's had a couple of shaky things. And now everybody's saying, he's shit and all this. And it doesn't deserve all that. Manquillo has played quite well for us this season. He had a bad game today. I was, surprised that he didn't start Kraft, but Manquillo has been okay for us this season and done a lot since Eddie Howe's come in. And, the midfield have been really good.
What people need to remember is that Tottenham are a Champions League quality squad and first 11 with a top quality manager, with World Cup winners. Like Bentancur was one of Juventus' starting centre mids. Højbjerg's world class. Son, Kane. Like, come on, guys. It's perfectly okay for our average players to have a poor game against Spurs.
But that's the thing, Alex. That's the thing. I think a lot of our fans keep forgetting that despite the fact we've been on a really good run, okay, and we've climbed up the table a little bit, we all know that most of those players are not good enough. And they are still the same. Well, most of them are the same players that struggled and were bottom of the league earlier this season. Now, you can blame the manager for that or whatever, but, it's the same players, and people have to realise that we are we're not this all power and mighty Newcastle United yet. We've
It
still got
happens.
the average players,
Even
and we
in
are
even
going to
in
get a Tonkin every now and again.
Yeah, well, we'll get a Tonkin in 2 and 3 seasons' time. It happens. Man United sometimes lose 5-0, as do Chelsea, as do Arsenal, as do Tottenham.
But
They
look
all
at Chelsea
sometimes
yesterday.
get smashed. It happens. So we don't have their quality. Of course, we're going to lose like that sometimes. Even next
Yeah,
season, we're going to lose 5 to 10 games. The season after, we're going to lose 5 to 10 games. It's normal to lose football matches in
I
a
think just
season.
because we've been on such a
Um,
good run,
yeah.
a lot of the fans are suddenly like getting a bit carried away, thinking, "Oh, we've got all these. We should be." Beating the likes of Tottenham and beating Liverpool and beating
And
it doesn't. It's not like that.
these players as well, like Fraser is a great example. Didn't get a move to Arsenal that was highly anticipated, came to us instead.
Mhm.
Willock didn't quite break through at Arsenal, came to us instead. These are players that weren't deemed by other top level scouts to be quite good enough for that top 6, top 8 sort of category.
Yep.
So why are we suddenly expecting them to be of that quality every week? It's an unfair expectation. They can do that sometimes when they have good games. They can improve parts of their game and their fitness, but it's unfair to expect them to produce that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can expect it from people like Bruno because of his pedigree and his quality, and he's got the numbers and the history to back that up. But to try and expect it, because Fraser has 5 good games and then he has a bad 6th, we can't. I thought Fraser had a terrible game today, but
Yeah, he was. He
you
was.
know,
Did nothing.
he's still a good player and he's still going to be valuable and important for us. People are allowed to have bad games. We
Yeah.
don't have a Champions League quality squad yet. Our squad is somewhere between probably 12th and 15th in quality, and that's fair. We need to
Yep.
improve on that.
Were the Newcastle fans actually shouting "How out"? No. There was a few in my show, in the commentary show this afternoon, putting that "How out." I mean, listen,
It's got to be Tottenham fans.
It's ludicrous, man. Absolute ludicrous. I just, this what Eddie Howe has done for this club already is incredible. Getting a side that was bottom of the league up to where they are now, 9 points clear of relegation. How man? Have a word with yourselves. Just no way is Eddie Howe's job or should even be looked at being at risk. It's crazy. Shana says Stato teams are targeting Kraft. Kraft's record with Newcastle since coming in for trips is unbeaten. As soon as Manquillo comes in, we get beat. Chelsea, Everton, Spurs. I've heard a few people. I've heard a few reports actually about certain clubs sniffing around Emil Kraft. Actually, thought Eddie Howe would have approached the game as Chelsea 3 at the back and kept it tight. Was never going to beat Spurs trying to play on the front foot.
I thought Kraft played against Everton. Pretty sure he did. Pretty sure that's wrong. Didn't he play like 80 minutes and come off or something? Or was that Chelsea?
He did. No, he played against Everton, definitely. Jack, good evening. Hope you're well down there in old Bristol. We were awful today. Congrats on the 10K, Paul. Fully deserved. Thanks, buddy. John says, lads, I've said it from day one. Chris Wood is simply not good enough. And every time he starts for us, we're playing with 10 men and Burnley are laughing at us. £25 million. I'm still in shock. Listen, I think we have to accept that the club have got it wrong, right? Chris Wood situation, they got it wrong. Now, many people are saying they signed Chris Wood the week in Burnley. That hasn't exactly happened. £25 million was a lot of money to try and do that. You know what I mean? But it hasn't worked. And I think that is a mistake that the club will learn from and move forward from.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the coaching staff still have faith in him. So until things, I don't want to be one of these fans. We've had a lot of this under Bruce. I don't want to be like the other fan bases. I will trust Eddie Howe. I will try to trust in the coaching staff's decisions. If they think he's good enough, I'll keep supporting him when he puts the shirt on. Mm-hmm. Personally, it's really difficult for me to see what he's offering. Maybe I do get what they think he could offer with the hold up play, and I just don't think he's offering that enough at the moment. I don't care. I don't care that he's not scoring. I don't actually mind that from a target man, because I don't mind our goals coming from Willock, Fraser, ASM. I prefer him to just take the pressure off us, hold the ball up, and bring others into play. That would be enough for me. I don't need him to score. I just need him to contribute a bit more.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's doing that enough, in my opinion. But I'm not a football coach. That's just what I'm seeing as a fan. And I want him to do well because he obviously cares. It's a shame.
Tom says mischief makers on Twitter claiming ASM was kicked off the team bus after the match and have a photo of him which looks suspiciously like it's outside the training ground. Honestly, man, just crazy. Matthew says Kraft and Bruno to start on Friday. Ryan says we struggle against win-back systems. This game wasn't the first. Billy, good evening, mate. Wood at fault for the first for me, not clearing the ball, then not closing down the crosser.
I mean, it was Maxi that was in position to close down. I love Maxi, but I've got to hold up. He was in position to close that down. Because he just stood in no man's land. Yeah.
Keith says, love your commentary today, Paul. Thank you very much. Third goal makes me really angry. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think I wrote that down as well.
I thought Willock was our best player first half, says Matthew. Look, he did a few good things in the first half, but, you know, I don't actually know what happened second half. It was just like completely different team. Ginger says, Paul, go watch Ginola Sky video. This man knows the truth. He wants the scrap to say how is copying other team without the players. I'm not sure what you mean with that, Ginger. Good evening, Julie. Have a good quiz tonight. Bruno, best player by a mile. Wayne says Burns was caught out of position so many times. I think it was just a bad day at the office today. Everyone was poor.
Because he wasn't expecting our midfield to lose the ball every 5 seconds. That's why.
Yeah.
It's normal to push up when we have possession. Yeah. Every team does that.
One thing that does worry me about what I've seen with Dan Burn is sometimes he does overcommit sometimes when he comes, you know, bashing over the halfway line to meet a player, and then obviously the player just spins off him.
I think that's a tactical instruction, though, because Lascelles has done that under Howe, and Shah does that often. I think that's a request of Howe. I genuinely think that's because all of them do that. I think it was Leeds, when Lascelles only got an hour, in the first half, he kept stepping into the centre circle for a tackle. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing there? But it's been a theme of all of our centre-backs to step in several times a game just to surprise them, maybe add an additional number into the tackle. I don't think it was. I think it's on purpose. I don't think it's them just forgetting what position they're playing.
Interesting. ASM didn't do a lot, Alex. He had a couple of decent moments, but was very poor overall. Harry says eyebrows have got to be raised over Eddie Howe and his defensive coaching. Poor at Bournemouth and now at Newcastle. Do you think it's about time he brought in a defensive coach? I mean, for me, no. I think people are overreacting here. I genuinely do. I think. Listen, look back to our unbeaten run. How good we were defensively. I genuinely think people are overreacting with this. Eddie Howe can't coach defensive tactics. I don't get it.
I'm just going to find a stat for you. So this happens today. It flashed up on one of on the channel that we were watching. That we conceded 5 goals in the previous 7 games, which is incredible form, defensive form. Like, to concede a goal a game over the course of a season is pretty incredible. I'm just trying to find if we maintained that sort of stat over the course of a season where we would finish in theory. So, you know, to be 5 goals conceded from 7 games is European challenging, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to find our goal difference for the previous seasons to see how that would hold up. There's nothing wrong with getting a hammering. It really does happen sometimes.
I mean, people forget under Rafa we got hammered on quite a few occasions. By the way, in the Championship as well, and you know, it happens like you say. We've seen Chelsea lose 4-1 at home to Brentford yesterday. You know, are those fans all clamouring for Thomas Tuchel to be sacked? It's ridiculous.
Well, exactly. I mean, so just in the last few seasons alone, if we'd have maintained that winning record, that winning run that we were on, if we maintained that sort of defensive solidity over a 38-game season, we'd qualify for Europe most likely.
Yeah,
we'd be in the top. We'd be in the top 9. top 8 consistent in most seasons that have gone by.
Mm.
So it's so harsh to expect them to be at top 8, top 9 quality every week from now. We've had 5 January signings. Most of our players are injured. It's an unreal expectation, an
I
unrealistic
honestly,
expectation.
I don't get it, mate. Devon makes a point here saying terrible performance. I love Eddie Howe. Definitely still the right man for the job, but I criticise him for bringing on a defender after going 3-1 down. Back to basics, surely, when we play Wolves on Friday. Were you surprised at that? Did he just basically, changed it to, shut the door basically and say, right, we're not going to concede anymore. We need to close the door.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he couldn't turn to his other target man on the bench, could he? Because it doesn't exist. So his option was, do I completely rip up the tactic sheet and bring Gale on? Or do I try and shut up shop and keep our goal difference down, try and calm the lads down and see if we can nick one on the counter? I'd have done the same. I don't think there was a problem. He hooked Wood off because Wood was a massive problem. I don't know what people expected him to do. You've got to remember he's working with the tools that are available to him, and it's not just his decisions. He stood there, asking Tyndall and the backroom staff are all sat on the bench with all the iPads and all the stats, and they're watching the game themselves. This is a team of 5, 6, 7 coaches that are all making the decision together. What other decision was he supposed to make?
Well,
just leave it.
I know.
We were getting pummeled, so just leave it as it was.
It wasn't working. I mean, he did try to change it, and let's be honest, we were never going to get back in the game. On hindsight, looking back, I was a bit confused at the time. I have to say, I did question it and say, well, what is he doing? Why is he putting a defender on?
He went to a back 5, and Shelvey was the middle centre back. So I think that's why he did it. He was like, okay, I want a back 5 now, but we don't have the personnel on the pitch. Because, Shelvey as a centre-back was a little bit worrying for a few minutes.
Yeah. Gary says, I thought Byrne was lucky to stay on the pitch too, Paul. Seemed to have a bee in his bonnet over something. Look, I think where I said he should have been sent off was when he did that off-the-ball incident. I think it was Danaker again, when he knocked him over. He just completely barged into him. And for me, that should have been a yellow card. He should have been off.
I mean, I don't really mind. I don't mind the lads' frustration in the final 20 minutes because, I mean, look, at the end of the day, regardless of the refereeing decisions, we lost that game. Even if some of those decisions went the other way, it was our fault. So the refereeing mistakes at the end of the day don't really matter. Like at Chelsea, they did matter, but today it's irrelevant. But I think the ref had a shocker. There were a few times where the linesman flagged for offside when he was supposed to have let play carry on because that's their instruction. I feel like Emerson Royale pushed Maxi, who stayed on his feet, and then Joe Linton pushes Bentancur, who falls over, and Joe Linton gets punished. So we're punishing not falling over, and we're rewarding being a child, basically. So if Maxi had fell on the floor, Emerson Royale probably would have got a booking. So we're basically punishing people for trying to stay on their feet and keep the game respectful, which is a shame. But I don't think the decisions would have made any difference.
No.
And Byrne as well. There were a couple of situations, as you said. I think there was a couple of 50-50s that got blowed for a foul that shouldn't have been, and they were all annoyed, and rightly so, because
I think it was
when the game was
a case of everything, wasn't it? They were annoyed at the way they were playing as well because nothing was gelling.
The game was still in our hands when some of these decisions were happening.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
It was still 1-1 or 2-1 when some of these situations were going on. And it just felt like one of those games that we might have lost because of refereeing decisions. I mean, we took that out of the hands of the referee and we just sort of imploded anyway. So it was irrelevant.
Indeed. I've just had a £4.49 super chat in, and it's just gone off the screen. Lewis York, I believe, was your name. So thank you very much for that. And he did put a comment in saying, bad day at the office, just a bad day at the office. So let's hope so, and let's hope we can put things right very quickly on Friday. Wagner says, I absolutely agree that Shelvey wasn't as bad as people are saying. Well, he's always the target man. He's always gets I mean, John Joe just gets it anyway. Nat says Wood was diabolical. We should have kept Carroll and saved 25 million quid. There's a, well, that's very interesting. But one thing I want to say is VAR, our old friend again. There was an incident in the first half that I thought Maxi took an elbow in his face again. Now, I'm not saying if it was deliberate or not, right? I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was just that he stepped in front of Maxi to win the ball. And unfortunately, Maxi, he took a bang to the head. But then I struggle as to see why that wasn't looked at by VAR. And then our goal is looked at by VAR for a possible handball. I mean, this is the inconsistency of VAR that a lot of Newcastle fans don't understand, and why we get so uptight about it is why certain things aren't looked at, but petty little things like that, a possible handball from our free kick, is looked at by VAR. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, I think it was a red card. I think it was a straight red.
Do you really? Okay.
100%.
Right.
On the I didn't at the time, because I didn't think I thought that Bentancur couldn't see Maxi, and he was just in a natural position when he was sort of running and challenging. And then you see the replays, and he can 100% see Maxi right in front of him. And in my mind, if you're looking at the player, he's looking at the ball, they're looking at Maxi, they're next to each other. He's got full vision of both, of everything that's going on, and he chooses to leave that elbow in and lead with it. In my opinion, that's a straight red. It wasn't challenging he wasn't trying to go shoulder to shoulder, arm down.
Right.
And again, I could be wrong here. Maybe the camera angle I've looked at wasn't the best camera angle. But what it looked like is Bentancur was looking at Maxi and the ball.
I have to agree with you. When I saw the replay, when I saw the replay, I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute!" And you'll see, if you watch me back in commentary, I did sort of say when I saw it second time, I thought, "Wow, I just don't understand why that wasn't looked at by VAR."
Yeah. I mean, if he couldn't quite see Maxi, fair enough.
Yeah,
he's challenging for the ball. He's looking at the ball, but because I feel like he was 100% aware of Maxi's position and continued to lead with the elbow, I just feel like it's got to be looked at as whether it's a yellow, a red, or a foul. It's got to be something, and it wasn't even given as a foul. The referee didn't even blow a free kick for us, which is shocking.
But this is why people get so annoyed with VAR, because people were putting comments in saying, "Oh, it's the big six again," and you can't argue with that, because why was it shown for a petty little free kick that there was no way a handball involved, and then they don't even show it for the elbow? It's wrong in every possible way. Julie says, "Please ask Alex when the beard is off and when do we hear fog on the Tyne?"
Did I agree to the beard? Was that something that I agreed?
Well, listen, I mean, people will go back and check the shows. That's pretty sure.
I'll let somebody do the digging on that. Yeah. I'm happy to play Fog on the River Tyne, but I don't know about the beard. Maybe we'll see.
I don't. Well, does your good lady like the beard?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to put the beard up for if something happens, I'll shave it. But I feel like an unbeaten run. I feel like we need something more special to happen for me to shave the beard.
More special than 10,000 subscribers, Alex? Are you? What the hell, man?
I've had this beard for a very, very long time. We'll see.
Yeah, so if I shave
or
mine
maybe,
off,
maybe if I trim down for the summer, maybe I'll be a bit more comfortable and I won't look like an egg when I shave. So
yeah, well, yeah, I don't shave because I look ridiculously fat. Or fatter than I am already, but never mind. Andrew says, just play Gale. At least he runs and strikes with his feet. What's the worst that could happen? That's a good end. What is the worst that could happen, Alex? To be honest,
we're not getting some new players, man.
Yeah, we're not getting anything out of Chris Wood. So what is the worst that could happen if we play Gale? It can't get any worse.
Yeah, but this is the conversation that we have together and we have on the fan forum and the viewers have in the comments is, well, at least Miggy runs. Well, at least this person does that.
Yeah.
At least that person can do that job. Can we just buy a player that can do his job properly? I'm sick of having half-assed. We've got half the tools in the, it's just like Bruno. I mean, he is Champions League quality. That was an absolute coup there. That was a crazy transfer. But I just like Fabian Schär, for example. He's not Champions League quality, but he does everything expected of him. He challenges in the air. He's tidy on the ball. He's a good centre back. He is one of the few players in our squad that can do the necessary jobs asked of him, and he does them okay. Most of our players have got weaknesses for their own position. You know, Kraft has got problems as a right back, and he is a right back. Manquillo's got problems as a right back. He is a right back. Willock's got problems in midfield. All of our players have got issues with their own position, and it's at Premier League level. It's frustrating. It's okay to have this problem with a few of your players, but I feel like we have too many where there's an issue with too many of the lads, and I feel like we just need a few more like Bruno or Schär who know what their job is and they're okay at it or good at it. We need a bit more of this is what it says on the tin as opposed to faffing about.
Definitely. B. Varga, thank you for becoming a new member of the Toon Review. Welcome to the family. Welcome aboard, as we say. I agree, Michael. Here's a good shout. Not sure what Michael said. Well said, Paul. Dwight Gale deserved a chance today, says Devon. Gale can't be terrible. He scored 2 against Dubai Rovers. Yeah, I think it's a little bit different. Tom says the Spurs to Willock like what Newcastle is to Pickford. Does it get him? Does it get to him? And he just plays shite against them.
I mean, I've got some stats for Willock versus Bruno just to show how bad he was today.
Go on, then.
Willock, this is. So Bruno only got half an hour. Willock played the whole match. Willock only had 2 more touches than Bruno. Again, and Bruno only played half an hour. 38 touches for Willock, 36 for Bruno. Willock had 20 out of 22 passes. Bruno had 25 out of 26. So Bruno had more passes and more accurate. And again, he was on for a third of the time on the pitch. Bruno also put in 4 tackles. Willock put in 1. So 4 times the tackles as well in half an hour. Bruno drew 3 fouls, won us 3 free kicks. Willock won us 1, which was a key one, fair enough. But just when you look at it like that, I know Willock is not. I'm not expecting Willock to put up the numbers of Bruno, but for a lad to beat you statistically when he's played a third of the minutes is poor. Is really poor. Willock played 90. Bruno played half an hour. It's not good enough. I mean, I like Joe Willock. I love his attitude, his improvements. He's great in interviews. I do want to keep him. I want him to be part of the squad and a backup box to box going forward. But that was crap today, mate. It really was. You got to do better than that, buddy. It was so poor.
Anyway, now it is time for player ratings, which is going to be very well. This is probably the toughest player ratings that we've had to do in quite a while, to be honest. Nice fish tank. I understand they're sometimes hard to maintain if they're bigger. They can be, but it's a joy. I love it. I absolutely love it. Shana says New Zealand were playing the equivalent of a Sunday League team. That's about Wood's level. Look, I said that he should go into the game confident. It doesn't matter who's put in front of him. He can only score. And he did that on international duty. But unfortunately, the Premier League is a completely different kettle of fish. And it just didn't work for him today. I'll start with the player ratings. So I'll go with Dubravka. 5.
Did you see a couple of his clearances where he popped it right on Chris Wood's head perfectly, and then Chris Wood just heads it to no one?
Yeah, but that happens all the time. But listen, I can't. A goalkeeper lets in 5, whether his fault or not. I can't give him a higher rating than a 5. I really can't. You know, I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. I mean, the goals. You know, did he really have a chance on any of them? I'm not too sure.
A few of them were quite bobbly and at the ground, weren't they?
They were just horrible to deal with. So I'm going with a 5. Right back Manquillo, Alex.
That's a real tricky one. Well, he got hooked. He only played 59 minutes.
Yeah.
Again, 20 out of 22 passes. He just wasn't. He didn't offer anything going forward or behind. He was a little bit sloppy positionally. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch, but he didn't do himself any favors. You can definitely see with that performance Kraft coming back into an 11 if Manquillo's doing that. I want to give him a 6, but I'm not sure I can. I might have to go lower than that. 2 clearances, two duels, lost the ball 3 times. I mean, in his defense, Fraser was awful and Willock was awful, and that's on his side, so he didn't have as much cover. I'll give him a 6 purely because I don't think he had as much cover as he deserved, and it made him look worse. If we did halves on this show, I'd give him 5.5, but we don't, so he can have a 6.
A lot of people are saying 4s or 5s for Manquillo, which is fair enough. Matt Target for me on the left-hand side, I'm going to give him a 6. I thought it wasn't his greatest game, but then again, it wasn't the team's greatest game today. I think they were all just off the pace. So for me, I can't go more or less than a 6. I thought he did okay. He was... Again, we talked about it earlier. He's having to come in for head, that sort of tactic where he's having to come in, head the ball away. I don't understand that. I think he should have got the ball away from Emerson Royal before he scored. He was beaten too easily for that, in my opinion. So definitely a 6. Kendo says Paul a 10. Tough to commentate through that. Second half bloody was, I tell you. Unbelievably hard. Right, we'll go for centre-backs now, Alex. So you get Dan Burn.
It's going to have to just be a flat 5.
Yeah.
I feel like people are being a little bit harsh on him. I think a lot of issues came from the midfield. He was being ran at a lot. He was being asked to deal with a lot of horrible through balls with a lot of talented runners. He should have only had to have dealt with half of that because the midfielders should have been doing their job better. But, I mean, yeah, its stats look all right. But again, same as Wood. Sometimes Wood's stats look good up front because he heads it a lot. It doesn't mean he's had a good game.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll have to give him a 5. I can't give him any higher. I like the lad, but he got booked. He lost his head a bit. 5.
All over the place a little bit. Tangy says Newcastle fans for going to 4 away games in a row. 10 out of 10 indeed.
True.
Absolutely,
True
mate. Well said. We got slaughtered 5-1. A 6 is above average. Nobody was above average apart from Bruno.
I disagree with that because football, for some reason, nobody uses anywhere between a 1 and a 3. So
yeah,
like
definitely.
if I'm going to use the full scale of 0 to 10, most football pundits or papers they don't tend to use 1, 2, or 3 as a rating for some reason. So maybe 6 seems a bit high to you guys, but I'm actually going to use 1s and 2s in my assessments, so it kind of scales correctly.
Yeah, very true. Andrew Grange, thank you very much for the £5 donation, mate. He's come in with a comment saying that this team infuriate me. Do you think we got lucky over the last 9 games we were unbeaten? No, I don't think we got lucky, mate. I think it was just an off day today, complete off day. But that's the way it is. We've obviously got a Mackham in here because Newcastle will never get top players, and it will never change anytime soon. And will never win the Premier League in your lifetime. It's all champagne and parties when VAR goes your way, and you cry when it doesn't. Well,
I mean, we haven't had much champagne this season, have we?
No, we haven't. But top players, Bruno, is he not a top player? Huh? Trippier, is he not a top player? I think you need to take your face for a shite, quite honestly. You've had a nightmare there. But never mind. Foxy says, anyone getting over a 4 is incredibly kind. Well, we all have our differences of opinions on player ratings. That's the beauty of doing them. Fabian Shah or Share, I'll go with Share. Basically, I'm giving him a 6. I think he was better than Dan Burn today. I don't think he was outstanding, but I think he was still one of our better players today.
If you're giving Shah a 6, then I've got to put Manquillo as a 5 because Shah was better than Manquillo. He scored.
Well, there you go. There you go. Devon says, why are the Mackhams still obsessed with us? Stay in League One. Indeed. Stephen says, very bad day at the office where Spurs improved second half. Of course, they are those who will suddenly turn on those who don't have a long non-losing run for nothing. And what league are the Mackhams in, says Derek. Indeed, indeed. One thing is for sure, says Tangy, is that Burnley versus Everton match on Wednesday is going to be very interesting. It is. That is a real interesting game. Russ says, love the show. Take your face for a shite. Classic comment. Thank you, Russ. Right, let's move into the midfield, Alex. John Joe Shelvey.
He can have a 6 from me. No, he can have a 5.
You're right.
He can have a 5.
Yeah.
Shocking first half. The fact that we went in 1-1 flattered him. He did get 3 tackles, 2 interceptions. He started finding his long balls in the second half. 6 long balls.
Yeah.
Won all 3 of his ground duels. But the stats don't show you how out of position he was at times with Willock. And I can't. He can't get any higher than that because a lot of that came from the midfield. The midfield weren't finding the runners on the attackers. And the midfield weren't shielding the front four, and that's Shelvey's job. Shelvey had the armband on today. It's a 5. He can't get any higher than that from me. It's got to be a 5.
Okay. Apparently, Newcastle Fans TV gave ASM a -10. Okay. I haven't seen that, so interesting. Yano says, with a fully fit squad, we are best 13th in the league. We played away at 5th best team in the league, so how many missing having an off day? We got what our performance deserved. Agreed. I will go with Joe Willock, and I'm going to give Joe Willock a 3. Listen, I think he did a couple of decent things in the first half, but he was absolutely atrocious in the second half. Lazy passes, lazy running around the pitch. He wasn't involved at all. And I can't give him more than the 3. I thought he was dreadful today. So it's a 3 for Joe Willock. Joe Linton for you, Alex?
He was a funny one today. He only played an hour. He got the yellow. Everybody loves him. This is a tricky one to give a bad rating to, but I've got to give him a 5 as well. If I've downgraded Manquillo to a 5, then Jolin's got to be a 5. He won 1 out of 7 ground duels, which is unlike him. He got 1 tackle. He struggled a little bit to keep hold of the ball. He just looks like since he had that little since he had that time off with the groin, he's not looked quite as sharp. Maybe he needs a bit more time. I'm not sure 100% what the problem is. I don't think it's a fully fit Joe Linton. Something's not quite right.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I think I said to you a couple of weeks ago that this groin injury may need surgery. It's one of them that if it's niggling, it'll probably need surgery in the summer.
I'm not putting the blame. I don't want to blame him necessarily. I think he knows. I think he's capable of better than that. And I don't think that's 100% maybe him. I think maybe there's a bit of tiredness, maybe a bit of groin. I don't think he's right. I don't think it's fair to blame him completely, but the performance warrants a 5. I can't give him any higher than that.
Russ says, the only stat you should worry about is staying up. That's all that counts this season. You just weren't at the races today. That's a good point. And I think we are going to stay up. I'm not, as I say, I've said many times, I'm not worried at the minute about going down. That may change over the next 3 home games. If we don't get anything out of these 3 home games, then crisis alert again. But, I think we will. That's just the way it is. Right, we'll move to the front 3 now. So I'm going to rate Maxi. And I'm going again with I'm going to give Maxi a 4. Now, the reason for a 4 is I think he was decent in the first half, created some nice runs, linked up well with Target, but second half, man, he was just anonymous again. So he gets a 4 from me. I don't understand where the -10 comes from, but look, it's just one of those. I think Maxi needs to be better.
Did you not enjoy the final link-up bits with Bruno in the final 10 minutes? I don't know if nobody seems to be mentioning that. I could see some bits there. Didn't change the game, but
the
it
thing is,
like
Alex, that's the thing. Tottenham, they were just Tottenham weren't going in at 100 mile an hour. They were 5-1 up. There was no need to. And that's where I think that, obviously they linked well and they were passing it around well, which is good for the future. The signs are there. But I just think that, as for creating problems and stuff like that and doing what Maxi does, he didn't do it. And you know what it is? A lot of people, I've read a lot of comments after the game and people saying, Maxi's had one good game in a very long time, which was against Everton. He's living off that game. I don't think that's particularly true. I thought he was decent first half, like I've said, but second half,
I don't know, man. I think
maybe
that's
a
mean.
bit off the pace.
I think that's mean. I'd have given him a 5, but a 4 is fair. I just think that today he did more defensively and he was using his overlap and passing more. And then people are criticising him for not doing his magic. It's like, hang on a minute. You either want him to be selfish and do his magic, or you want him to track back, pass, and cross. Like, I don't. People seem to be in two minds about it. I agree though. He does deserve he doesn't deserve a good rating, but it's a funny one. It is a funny. I don't quite get if people are putting -10s on from content creators. It's interesting. I don't know.
Listen, I mean, there's a comment there saying the guys on Newcastle Fans TV are always on liquor. I don't take the rating.
Maybe they're having a bit of a joke, but maybe they're a bit angry. Fair enough.
Listen, Lee does a fantastic job with that channel. Some of the guys I don't agree with on there when they make points, but that's the whole point of opinions. Everybody is going to disagree and agree. But look, I mean, it may well be tongue in cheek with that. I don't know. I haven't seen the video, so I can't comment on it. But I'm not going to have I don't want people coming on here slagging NFTV off because I think they do a wonderful job. So, it's each to their own, and it's all about opinions, which at the end of the day is why we love football. Right, we'll go on to you can have Chris Wood today.
He can have a 3, and the only reason he doesn't get a 2 is because he did have that nice move that led to a shot, and he held it up once. There were a couple of situations defensively in transition where he slotted into right midfield, and they drove through the middle, and I was screaming at the screen because I don't know what he was doing positionally. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'll give him a 3. It could have been a 2, and he got hooked by his own manager as the only striker on the pitch and got replaced with a centre back. I mean, if that doesn't paint the picture, I don't know what does. Yeah, 3 for Chris Wood. He's got to do better than that, because we've got to play some more big teams before the season ends. We've got to play Arsenal. We've got to play Liverpool and City. He needs to turn up in some capacity more than that against harder teams. We can't have that performance again.
Yeah, I agree. And Ryan Fraser from the start 11, he gets a 2. He was diabolical today. He didn't do anything for the full game.
I forgot he was playing several times.
He was just irrelevant today. And look, he's been fantastic. But I have to rate him on a performance that he had today, and it was a 2. He was just not involved in the game. Didn't play well at all. But the thing is, he'll know that as well. He won't need told. The guy, most of the team won't need told that today, to be honest. It was a very, very poor day. But Fraser, for me, just not there today. 2, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the worst on the pitch.
I think that whole right side didn't help each other. I think they all made each other worse in ratings. Fraser, Willock, and Manquillo on that right were as bad as each other, and they dragged each other down. They weren't linking up together. It was just poor. It was. I don't know who specifically it was stemming from. Maybe one person in particular was bringing the other two down. I don't know, but that whole right side just was so poor today.
Oh, Jesus. Paul says a very hard game on Friday against the Wolves team, playing very well and defensively very good. Of course, they've got Conor Cody. But I'm sure us being at home with our fans and war flags screaming the team on, we can nick it. How are the lads? And someone on Facebook just commented saying we just have to forget about the day performance and move on. Plenty of points to be won from other games. We must remember it's safety first, and anything else is a bonus. It's not like we're going to get into Europe this season. Let's just it's a reality check. Substitutes. Now I'm trying to remember who came on when. We made a double substitution, didn't we? When
Murphy Bruno on 59, and that was for
Murphy
Joelinton,
Bruno,
and Manquillo came off.
Okay, so you can have Murphy.
Murphy actually played a couple of cheeky little key passes.
Mm.
He's the player that never was. I'm so disappointed in Murphy because if he was 21 years old, I'd keep him in the squad and say he's got something. But he's too old now. He's 27. That bit of something is too late now, mate. You're 27. I'm afraid we needed that when you were a bit younger. He's got quality, and it frustrates me. He could have been so much more. And yeah, he's just all right. Again, he didn't help stop the implosion when he came on. Did he do any worse than people he replaced?
No.
He lost 0 out of 3 ground duels. I mean, he got no tackles, no interceptions. He touched the ball 12 times. He played half an hour. That's not a lot for half an hour of play. Couple of little quality things going forward, but it didn't amount to anything. Oh, it's really hard in a negative game. I don't know. Where do I put him?
It's not, the player ratings aren't easy today at all.
I mean, I don't think he did any worse than Target or Manquillo, but he didn't do anything impressive. I think he's going to have, I'll give him a 5. I'll give him the same as Manquillo.
Okay.
I don't think he was any better, possibly a tiny bit better than Manquillo with some passes.
Chris says Murphy over Maxi all day long. Says, wow, okay. Now, Bruno, and I'm going to go with him. I'm going to give him a 7. Possibly could have given him an 8, but listen, he was only on the pitch for half an hour, but he was one of our better players by a mile. But again, I can't really give players 8s and stuff when we've lost 5-1. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, but I think he was a steady 7 today. Clearly one of the better players when he was on the pitch. So yeah, he gets a 7. And the final player to come on was Lascelles when he came on to make it 5 at the back. And of course, he came on for Chris Wood. So Jamal Lascelles, Alex.
I want to give him an NA because he played 20 minutes, so I guess he needs a rating.
But he was on the pitch. He was on the pitch when we conceded.
He doesn't have any stats. He was so anonymous in terms of he just doesn't have any stats. 8 out of 9 passes, 1 area of duel. He doesn't really have any other stats because he didn't do anything in the game. He didn't mess up his offside trap. He was in the right position, and I feel like the mistakes and the goals that happened when he was on the pitch were not of his making. I feel like it came from midfield. He didn't do anything wrong. I didn't see enough of him to give him a proper rating, but he was part of a losing team. He didn't do anything great either. Oh, I don't know, 5 or a 6. But I feel like that's harsh for 20 minutes of play. Maybe.
Well, I don't think he's going to lose any sleep over it, Alex. Whichever one you go with, to be honest, buddy.
It's the same as Maxi getting 21 minutes a few weeks ago and everybody slating him. I can't. I've got to be fair. If we can't criticize Maxi for 20 minutes, we can't criticize Lascelles for 20 minutes. He didn't do anything visibly wrong, but he wasn't great. It's just kind of one of those things. I'll give him a 5, but that's harsh because we don't know if he would have done any better with more minutes.
Fair enough. And now, of course, we have to agree on Eddie Howe. I mean, people will say that he should have started Bruno. I think he tried to change it. But for me, when you lose 5-1, I mean, you know, the manager has to take responsibility as well. So I'll go with a 4.
Yeah, 4's fair.
Cool.
I'd be inclined to give him slightly higher than that, maybe a 5 or something. But I think he tried to trust the players and it backfired. Is my thing. I think he knows that it was dangerous to try that against Spurs. He said it in his post-match. We tried to be aggressive. We tried to take risks. We got punished. We weren't in the right positions.
He just doesn't have the players to do it against that kind of opposition.
Yeah, I think he wants to play attacking football. He wants to please the fans. He wants to trust the lads. He wants to give them his faith. And they abused his trust today with some poor performances from certain players. I don't think he was aware that that could happen. It's not like he's clueless. He's not like Bruce.
No,
He
no.
was fully prepared for that tactically.
Yeah.
And the lads were also aware that that was going to happen to them if they did that. And they did it anyway. So I don't feel like he gets the low rating through naivety. I think he just gets it because he trusted them and they didn't deliver. I think him and the coaching staff were fully aware that could happen. About the Bruno start as well, if the club doctors and physios and all the stats have come back and told him he's not okay to start, you probably shouldn't start him, then I can't blame Hal for not starting Bruno either. If he's been told it's not a good idea, then it's not a good idea. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it, but people say we've got to forget this match and move on. I completely disagree because Wolves play the same system. So
yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. So
we've got to take this on the chin and learn very quickly.
We do, and things have to be addressed. That's why I said earlier on that Eddie faces a very tough week of training.
Well, fingers crossed this is a blessing in disguise. This performance will wake us up so he can make the necessary changes and the lads understand the errors so we can go beat Wolves.
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed that's what we'll get out of it.
And of course, we've got to give the fans a 10 as usual. Absolutely fantastic supporters again down there, making the long trip. 4 away games in a row is tough, but they've sold out every single one of them. So massive well done. Thank you very much for watching tonight. I know everybody's a bit down after that performance, but you know what? We can bounce back against Wolves. I'm pretty sure of it. If you haven't
coming up.
Exactly, 3 home games on the bounce should be fantastic. If you have enjoyed the show, guys, do give us a thumbs up. It does help the channel on the searches and things like that. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, do consider subscribing. We just want to keep building, moving on up, and keep moving. Apparently, Adam Pearson and the Magpie channel walked out of the ground before the last goal went in. That's how sick they were. Well, you can't blame them spending a lot of money to go and watch that when we get tonked. I don't blame them at all. You can become a member of the Toon Review as well if you hit the join button just underneath the video, or the link to it is in the description. And thank you to everybody who has super chatted today. Very, very kind of you. Michael Marsden with a massive one during the commentary of over £170, which is just incredible. But thank you to each and every one of you. Every penny means so much to us on the channel, so thank you for that. Hitting 10k has been absolutely superb. A real bonus for us today. And thank you to the mods in backstage, again, keeping care of the chat as they've done all day today on both shows. Alex, thanks for joining me again. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m, where we are doing the free transfer show again. We have more names that are free transfers in the summer. So we'll be looking at those and seeing what the possibilities are of them signing for Newcastle. We had a massive good response to last week's show. Everybody seemed to really enjoy it. So we're doing the same again tomorrow night, 7 p.m, live on the Toon Review. And thank you, of course, to our sponsors of the channel, Geordie Riffs, premium guitar lessons for beginners and children based here in the Northeast. Guitar repairs and servicing, on which they're offering 10% on each, on first ones of each, I should say. And of course, your first guitar lesson completely free of charge. They also have a recording studio available, so you'll find them on geordieriffs.co.uk on the internet, on Instagram at Geordie Riffs, and on Facebook, Geordie Riffs official. So thank you for Graham and Natalie for the continued support. Give them a visit as well for all your guitar needs. So coming up this week, obviously, 7 o'clock tomorrow, we've got the free transfer show. Tuesday night will be, of course, the fan forum live at I'll rewind that. Live at 8:30. So do tune in for that one. And of course, we'll be having the match preview for the Wolves game. That will probably be Thursday night, because obviously it's Friday night, the game. So that should be very interesting. And then on Saturday, we'll have the match review for that one as well. But just keep an eye on the channel for the times and stuff like that. Do join the Facebook group. We're over 1,000 members on that already as well, which is fantastic. And you can also find the Toon Review now on Instagram and TikTok. Susan runs the TikTok, not me, because I wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing on that one. So that is everything. Thank you very much for watching tonight, guys. And me and Alex will be back tomorrow with the transfer show. So take care, be kind, and keep smiling. And we'll see you later. Good night.
Down in the depths of my soul.